Welcome to Raving Ryan. I'm your host, Ryan Anastasio. Today I have a very special guest, the Lieutenant Governor of Connecticut, Nancy Wyman. Lieutenant Governor, how are you?
Fine, Ryan. Thank you for coming.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up as Lieutenant Governor?
You know, I'm one of those people that never planned on being involved in politics.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we didn't talk politics in the house. But as I got older and I became an X-ray technician, and I had my children. My children started to go to school, and I didn't like what was going on in the school system. So I ended up running for the Board of Education, and then I figured I ended up running for state representative from there as state controller when the governor asked me to run with him for lieutenant governor. And I made the decision to do it after speaking to the family and stuff. And so I got to spend some interesting times for the last 7 years as lieutenant governor.
Yeah, and this legislative session is very different. There's currently a tie in the state Senate and a fairly close margin in the state House. What has it been like this year with the tie in the Senate and the close margin in the House?
You know, most people don't realize it, Ryan, but most votes in the Senate, about 85 to 90% of the votes, are bipartisan votes. So there are very few partisan votes in the Senate.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens this year. I'm hoping that they all end up working together, because if we work together, we'll end up with a better state.
Yeah, and under the governor's proposed budget, many towns in Connecticut will be losing state aid, while Connecticut's big cities will get more state aid. Your hometown of Tallinn will lose 42% of its state aid under the governor's proposal. The city of Milford will lose 73% of its state aid, and the town of Wallingford will lose 37% of its state aid. An overwhelming majority of Connecticut's towns will lose state aid, with more money being put into big cities like Waterbury and Hamden. Lieutenant Governor, these decreases in state aid in most of the Connecticut's towns is going to cause taxes in towns to go up, most likely. What do you say to middle-class Americans whose taxes are going to go up if the governor's budget passes?
You know what? We have never seen the budget passed in whole. And so I do believe that what you're going to see come out of this is something different than when you saw it coming out. Governor's job is to propose, and basically the legislature disposes. So the legislature, there's extra money in the budget for them to realign. And if they choose to realign, then we're going to see, we'll see what's coming out after their discussion. The negotiations are going to be tough. We have to remember that this has $1.3 billion worth of cuts in this budget because we have a deficit of $1.7 billion. We've got to get our economy back on course. Some of the things that you talk about in cuts are very difficult. We understand that. But it's also going back to looking at fairer ways of funding, education funding, so that we're paying for children to be in the seats rather than just the seats in the school.
Yeah, but do you expect taxes in towns like Tallinn and towns like Woodbridge to go up?
I don't know if they will go up or not, but what I do see is that I think that there's going to be a readjustment on what formula that you saw coming out in the governor's budget. You'll see a readjustment on it so that those numbers will not be accurate.
Yeah, and what exactly do you hope to come out of this budget that the legislator will give to the governor?
I'm hoping that we come out with a balanced budget. That's what we really need to. We have to figure out how we continue to pay down the pensions that haven't been paid down for years. It's very bad for us. I want to see that we come out with paying down the debt so we don't have, I'm sorry, making sure it's balanced. We've got to make sure that, we're taking care of those people that need to be taken care of.
Yeah, and the governor recently proposed a $250 million renovation of the Excel Center in Hartford. Don't you think Connecticut has bigger problems such as working on roads and bridges and keeping businesses in the state than trying to lure an NHL team?
Well, I just think that the fact is that you're not balancing the same thing. Our roads and bridges we have been working at. We've asked the legislature to get us a lockbox, so the amount of money that goes in for roads and bridges are put away so that we never really go and pick it out and use it for something else. So that's one thing on roads and bridges that the governor's asked for this entire time. The Excel Center, when people look at what you're looking, is that coming out of where? That's coming out of bonding rather than coming out of the budget. So people have to understand that's not, that's a bonded item. We also, as we hear from businesses like the Aetna, we hear from other businesses, we know that we have to build up our capital city. Now, is that the right amount of money in the Excel Center? I have no idea. But I do believe that we have to also invest in the future.
Yeah, and the governor sent a letter to the New York Islanders asking to see if they wanted to play at the XL Center. They said they were fine in New York, but do you expect anything new to happen?
I have not been involved in that. I don't know if they'd come. I was around when the Patriots was talking about coming, so I'll just keep hope alive.
Yeah, and Aetna, the corporation in Hartford, has been in talks with Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker. They do have a big chance of maybe leaving the state. Do you think Aetna will leave the state, and what do you think we can do to keep more businesses from leaving?
You know what? I hope Aetna doesn't leave the state. Aetna has been an absolutely wonderful corporate sponsor in the state. They have given back to the people of the state in many different ways besides the jobs that we need in the state. So I know that the governor's office is working with Aetna to make sure that they could stay here. It's really important for us to have Aetna here. It's part of our foundation.
Yeah, and what do you think you can do to maybe, Aetna is like they're going to Massachusetts. It's probably not for the taxes. What do you think you can do to try to create like a tech corporation here in Hartford and Connecticut?
I think we're trying to build that up. We're trying to build up, especially in the medical area. We've had more businesses in the medical side growing up. Jackson Lab coming into Connecticut was a great investment for us, and many different businesses have spun out because of that. Aetna, on one hand, right now we're reducing the tax on premiums. So that is another way of encouraging them to stay here in the state. If it's not, we have to find out what they really need and to make sure that we're building it. Because we have the best educated people graduating from our schools right here. So if they need to hire people, we have that here.
Yeah, and the state legislature nearly passed a law that would reduce short-term state pension contributions by leveling the payments through 2047. Well, this may help currently, is going to be devastating long-term. Lieutenant Governor, by doing this, aren't you passing the problem on to the next generation of people my age?
No, because if you look at it, what we're trying to do, Ryan, is take care of the problem. What people don't understand, though, is for decades we haven't been paying them that pension, and that's the reason we're in where we are. We've had previous governors that have said that they didn't like the income tax and that they were going to get rid of the income tax. And when the governor came in, not only didn't get rid of the income tax, decided not to pay the bills that we owed. And so this has been going on for decades. And so now, for the first time, we have a governor that says, look, we've got to pay down this pension so that your future is not balanced on the back. The money being spent now is not balanced on the backs of you, because that's not the way we want to do things.
And have you ever talked about maybe restructuring the pension plan?
The pension plan has been restructured 4 times. We have Tier 1. And that was the tier, the very first tier, where we have not been paying into to paying down the debt. We have Tier 1, we have Tier 2, Tier 2A, and Tier 3. And each one has been restructured downward, and each one is basically funded better than Tier 1. Tier 1 is the one that we have a major problem with.
Yeah, and I want to finish up with some personal questions. Do you have any hobbies?
Seeing my grandchildren. They're my best. That's the best thing in the world for me. I miss, that's more important than anything. Going to their games, seeing them.
Yeah, and Connecticut's really well known for its pizza. Do you have a favorite pizza restaurant in the state?
You know what? The one that I go to the most is in my own town. It's called Camille's. And I like that. It's really good. I come from Brooklyn, New York originally, so I go back to Brooklyn pizza.
And there has been talk about maybe you running for governor again or lieutenant governor again with Malloy. Do you think you're going to run? Do you think Governor Malloy will run for a 3rd term, or would you consider running for governor?
You know, I figured it out last week. It was about 615 days before the next election. So the decision will be made by then.
Okay, Lieutenant Governor Wyman, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, you can go to ravingryan.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything. Reporting for Raving Ryan, I'm Ryan Anastasio.